I was alone at home that night, every light off except for the dim lamp in the corner of the living room. The house was quiet, too quiet. I sat with a book in my hands, though I wasn't reading, just listening to the silence pressing against the walls. That's when I heard it creak. A faint sound from above. First I thought I imagined it. Houses make noises with settles, pipes shift. But then it came again. Creak. Step. Creak. The unmistakable rhythm of footsteps moving slowly down the stairs. My breath caught. I froze, staring at the darkened hallway where the staircase waited. I knew I had locked the doors. I knew no one else was home. My parents were away for the weekend. My sister was out with her friends. I was alone. Completely alone. But the sound kept coming, deliberate, steady weight pressing against each step. My heart hammered in my chest. I whispered to myself, "It's nothing. It's nothing." Yet deep down I knew it was something. Someone was coming down the stairs. The book slid from my lap. My fingers gripped the arm of the chair until they ached. The silence between each step felt endless, like the house was holding its breath with me. Then another step groaned under invisible weight, closer now, just around the corner. I wanted to move, to run, to scream. But I sat frozen, staring at the edge of the hallway where the shadow of the staircase stretched. Whoever or whatever was there was almost at the bottom. And I realized with a shiver crawling down my spine, this wasn't the first time I'd heard those footsteps. The sound of the footsteps stayed in my ears long after they stopped. The stairs creaked once more. And then silence fell, heavy and suffocating. I sat still in the chair, my eyes locked on the darkened hallway, waiting for someone to appear. No one came. The air felt colder, like the whole house was holding its breath with me. My hands trembled and I whispered, "Hello." My own voice sounded small, swallowed by the silence. I forced myself to stand, every movement stiff, my legs heavy as stone. I reached for the light switch near the hallway, flicked it on, and the bulb buzzed to life, spilling pale light over the bottom of the stairs. Empty. The steps looked ordinary, the railing still, no shadows moving across them. But I knew what I heard. The sound had been too clear, too sharp, too deliberate to be imagination. I crept closer, my heart pounding so hard it made my throat ache. Each step I took toward the staircase seemed louder than the one before. I craned my neck, trying to see the top. Nothing. Just the darkness pooling like ink across the landing. But I could feel it, that weight of someone watching me, someone standing just out of sight. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket, making me jump. I yanked it out with shaking hands. It was my sister. I answered immediately, whispering, "Are you home?" She laughed, music loud behind her voice. "No, I told you I'm at Emma's." "Why?" I swallowed hard. I thought I heard someone here. Her laughter stopped. "Don't freak me out. You're imagining things." She hung up before I could say more. But I wasn't imagining it. I knew I wasn't. I backed into the living room, eyes still fixed on the stairs. I turned on every lamp, every light I could reach, flooding the space with brightness. Still, the hallway felt like it was swallowing the light, like the shadows clung to the corners no matter how hard I tried to drive them away. That night I didn't go upstairs. I stayed curled on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, the TV on low to drown out the silence. But even with the volume humming, I swore I heard it again. The faint creak of a board, the weight of a step pressing where no one should be. My chest tightened, my eyes darted to the hallway, and I didn't move until dawn broke through the curtains. The next day I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was the wood expanding. Maybe a draft. I almost convinced myself until I found something on the stairs. Halfway up on the third step was a smudge. A dark mark like the heel of a shoe pressing down. I knelt, my stomach twisting, tracing my finger over it. Cold. Not dust, not shadow. A mark. Someone had been there. I didn't tell my parents when they called to check in. I couldn't. I knew what they'd say: "You're overtired. Or you watch too many horror movies." They'd laugh, brush it off, tell me to get some rest. But I couldn't rest. Not when I was starting to remember. Because it wasn't the first time I'd heard those footsteps. It had happened weeks before, late at night when everyone was asleep, a faint creak drifting through my dreams. I had woken, thinking it was nothing, pulled the blanket tighter, and forced myself back to sleep. I had told myself it was just the house. But now, standing there with the mark on the stair under my hand, I realized I had been lying to myself. This house had been holding secrets, and those footsteps were only the beginning. The third night was worse. By then I had convinced myself I could handle it, that keeping all the lights on and the TV humming would make me safe. But when midnight struck, the air shifted. The hum of the house died into silence so deep I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. Then it started again. Creak, creak, creak. The slow, steady rhythm of someone coming down the stairs. This time it was heavier, like each step was deliberate, dragging closer than before. My chest tightened until I could barely breathe. I gripped the armrest of the couch, staring at the hallway, frozen in place. I wanted to shout, to call my sister, but my voice wouldn't work. My throat felt locked. I told myself to move, to grab something, anything, but the sound kept pulling me back. Whoever it was had reached the bottom. I could almost feel their presence standing just around the corner. My skin prickled, my body screaming at me to run, but my legs refused. Then silence. No more footsteps. Just the heavy weight of someone waiting. I couldn't take it anymore. I bolted for the kitchen, my socks sliding across the floor, and yanked open the drawer where we kept the flashlight. My hand shook so badly I nearly dropped it. I flicked it on, its beam slicing through the shadows. I aimed it at the hallway. Nothing. Empty. My chest heaved, but the light caught something. A smear along the wall, faint, like the brush of fingers dragging down the paint. My stomach lurched. The next morning I swore I'd go upstairs. I couldn't keep hiding. I climbed the staircase slowly, my hand clutching the railing. My flashlight clutched even though the sun was already pouring in. Each step groaned under me, the same sound I'd been hearing night after night. At the top, the hallway stretched out, doors closed, shadows lingering. My room. My sister's room. My parents' room. And the spare bedroom at the end of the hall, the one no one ever used. I stopped in front of it. The door was slightly open, just a crack. My breath hitched. I pushed it open slowly, the hinges whining. The room was empty, just a bed covered with a sheet, a dresser coated in dust. But on the floor near the bed were prints. Footprints, faint but clear, pressed into the dust. Too big to be mine. Too heavy to be my sister's. I stumbled back, my heart racing. Someone had been here. Someone had been walking these halls when we thought the house was empty. That night I tried to tell my sister again. "There's someone in this house," I said, my voice shaking. She rolled her eyes. "You're losing it. Seriously, you need sleep." But her smirk faded when I told her about the footprints. She looked away quickly, muttering, "Probably old. You're reading too much into it." But I saw it, the flicker of fear in her eyes. She knew more than she let on. By the fourth night I couldn't take the waiting. I sat in the living room with the flashlight in one hand and my phone in the other, recording everything. Midnight came. Silence. Then creak. Another step. My phone shook in my hand, the camera pointed at the hallway. The sound grew louder, closer, until the air felt heavy, pressing against my chest. Then the beam of my flashlight caught it. A shadow, faint but undeniable, moving along the wall. I gasped, dropping the phone. The shadow froze. And then slowly it slipped back up the stairs. When I played the recording back, my hands trembling, I could hear it clearly. The groan of each step, the dragging of weight, the sound of someone breathing. But there was no one on the video. Just the sound and the empty hallway. That was the breaking point. It wasn't just creaks or my imagination. There was someone sharing this house with me. Someone who wanted me to know they were here. And I realized with a chill that kept me awake until dawn, they weren't just coming down the stairs. They were getting closer every night. That final night, the house felt alive. Every corner pulsed with silence. Every shadow seemed to lean closer. I sat on the couch, the flashlight heavy in my hand, my phone already recording. I wasn't going to run this time. I wasn't going to pretend anymore. If something was in this house with me, I needed to see it. Midnight came. The clock ticked once and the air turned colder, sharp enough to sting my lungs. Then it began. Creak. A long pause. Creak. The sound of weight pressing down on the top stair. My whole body tensed, but I stayed seated, eyes fixed on the hallway. The footsteps grew louder, slower, dragging each step out like they wanted me to hear every second of it. Creak, creak, creak. My heart pounded so violently I thought it would burst through my chest. But I didn't move. I whispered into the darkness, "I know you're here." The sound stopped. Silence stretched so long I thought my ears would explode. Then one more step. And then another. They reached the bottom. The air grew heavy, pressing against my skin, pressing into my chest, until it felt like something was standing right in front of me, inches away. I raised the flashlight and flicked it on. The beam cut through the hallway. Empty. The stairs were bare, the floor spotless. But the sound didn't stop. The next creak came not from the hallway, but from behind me. I spun around, my breath catching, the flashlight beam trembling wildly across the walls. Nothing. Just the living room, the flicker of the lamp, the notebook on the table. My phone slipped in my sweaty grip. That's when I noticed the sound on the recording, my own voice whispering, "I know you're here," followed by another voice. A whisper low and rasping right next to mine. "So do I." I dropped the phone. My body went cold. The words hadn't been in the room. I hadn't heard them with my ears. But the recording had caught it, something answering me. I stumbled back toward the kitchen, my legs trembling. I grabbed the biggest knife from the counter, clutching it like a lifeline. My reflection in the window stared back at me, pale and broken. But then the glass shifted. Another reflection stood behind mine. Taller. Darker. Not moving the way I was. I turned, slashing the flashlight beam across the room. Empty. But when I looked back at the glass, the reflection was still there. And it was smiling. Panic ripped through me. I bolted for the front door, yanking at the locks with shaking hands. But the deadbolt wouldn't turn. It was as if someone was holding it from the other side. I pulled harder, teeth gritted until it finally gave way. I stumbled into the night, gasping for air, the cold wind slapping my face. I didn't stop running until I reached the streetlight at the corner. My chest heaved, my legs burned, but I kept glancing back. The house stood still in the distance, its windows dark, silent. But I knew it was watching me. When my parents came home the next day, I told them everything. My father laughed, brushing it off. "You've been under stress." That's all. My mother gave me a pitying look, touched my cheek and whispered, "The house is old. It creaks." My sister rolled her eyes. "You scared yourself. Nothing's there." But when I showed them the recording, their faces changed. They didn't laugh. They didn't roll their eyes. They went pale. My mother's lips pressed tight. My father snapped, "Delete it." My sister hissed, "Stop digging. You don't want to know." Their fear was worse than denial. They knew something. I didn't delete it. I listened to it over and over, the voice whispering beside mine. "So do I." Each time it felt closer, like the voice was waiting for me to listen again. Waiting for me to answer. That night I slept at a friend's place. I left the lights on, my bag packed. But even there, miles away, I woke in the dark to a sound that twisted my stomach. Creak, creak, creak. As if wooden steps were bending under someone's weight, right outside the door. I realized then it wasn't just the house. It was me. Whatever had been on those stairs had followed. And now, no matter where I go, I can't stop listening for it. The strange footsteps coming closer, one by one, reminding me that I'm never truly alone.